30 minutes to chat about, I think, your company yourself. And I think most of our listeners will be very interested to know. In fact, myself, I'm interested to know, how do you do, such a career switch? I understand that you were in banking in the past, and and now passionately doing your consulting work, which I personally believe has got a huge impact in people's life. So we have Natalie with us today, and we're going to talk about I think I would want the audience to get to know you a little bit, as in, maybe we can start with one or two things that you don't know about Natalie.
Thank you, Rina. That's actually a question that no one has ever asked me before. So I wasn't prepared for that.
No worries.
A couple of things that a lot of people may not know, but people who've gone to class may know, and people are often surprised about, is that I'm very much an introvert. I prefer small crowds. I don't like to go to huge networking events. If somebody says, Natalie, we've got this huge party going on, come join us. As soon as I hear huge party, I'm like, no, I don't want to go. So it doesn't make sense to a lot of people at first, because I do speak in public for a living, and I do share a lot about my life. And the reason is because I believe that you can't teach people, so to speak. You can only inspire. And I don't see myself as a teacher so much, but as someone who shares what experiences I've had, what things that I've learned along the way in my life. And in that sharing, that hopefully it will help people to not have to have the same experience, but to get the learning and the lessons learned from that experience. So that's that part of it, of what I do, and wanting to share and help others is what helped me to step out of I'm such an introvert, and also I had huge stage fright, to be doing what I'm doing today. So that's one thing. The other thing that a lot of people may not know is that I can't cook to save my life. It comes from childhood, from two main things. My mother, she always hated cooking as a chore, and every day at night, I actually wrote this in my book, but I don't know if I wrote that I didn't like cooking, but she would complain that she had to spend her time cooking for us and feeding us. So that wasn't very inspirational. And then in high school, when I did take home economics class where we learned cooking, I would be so happy and go home and try and replicate what I did in class, and each and every time it would fail. And after many failed attempts, I finally gave up. This year, actually, I was hoping to maybe start baby steps in learning how to cook. I remember one Chinese New Year, my helper was on holiday, and someone had given me a gift of lo bako, which is the turnip cake. Yes. And so having nothing to eat at home, and being Chinese New Year, the shops were closed. So I took the turnip cake out of the fridge and I started to fry them. And my kids were so shocked. They said, oh, Mommy's cooking. Not cooking, this is just taking something out and frying, and I burned it too, right? But they were really happy. So happiness, it brings to point, is happiness is relative. And that made them happy. But thank you for that question.
Yeah, I think it's important to enjoy every experience that we have, even burning the turnip cake. At least there is an experience that it may not be something you like, but like I said, your kids actually enjoy that whole experience. And in life, I used to tell people that whether it's a negative experience or it's a positive experience, it is an experience that, perhaps you just learn how to not do the same mistake again. And it's sort of these little collective memories that, join together and make who you are today. Like without past experience, you wouldn't be what you are today. So it's interesting to know. Another question for you is, like, you've been in a banking. Of course, I did a check. With now social media, right? We can sort of stop everyone. So you were in a bank, a very reputable bank for a long time. Goldman Sachs. I mean, it's been on the news for good and not so good, especially with the recent one MDB case with Malaysia. But anyway, I was told that banks are very, very stressful. But how, if you were to describe your career in the bank, right? What do you think one of the two things that you have learned in your career, your earlier career in the bank, that you think actually help you with your current entrepreneurship journey and your current consulting work?
That's a good question. Looking back, and a lot of times wisdom comes with hindsight. I didn't enjoy my time at Goldman Sachs. From day one, I knew it wasn't where my calling was, and it just wasn't the right industry for me. I met a lot of really good colleagues that I'm still very good friends with today. It gave me an excellent network as well, business-wise. And the job nature and the industry nature just wasn't the right fit. So no matter what you're doing in a company, there are different roles. But at the same time, when it's talking about finance, it's numbers and money. And I was never a numbers and money person either. And even when because my undergrad was in business. So when the headhunter called me and said, oh, I've set you up with an interview for Goldman Sachs. And then I said, well, I thought I told you I don't want anything to do with money. No insurance, no banking, no, anything to do with money, like just don't call me. Call me for other industries. And she ended up calling me for banking. And she said, oh, but the boss is so nice. And he just relocated to Hong Kong. So I finally went to meet the boss and I ended up taking the job because of the boss. I never imagined I would stay for 10 years. And it was only until after I found out what my passion was and what my give to the world was. And then as I went along, that I realized that, if you believe in a God, and he were to have planned out my career, I really want to say thank you so very much, because that 10 years, first of all, a lot of the examples that I share in class, a lot of what I learned over the years came from that really focused and concentrated 10 years. As you were saying, banks are really stressful. So it was a sort of a really concentrated Petri dish of, how to survive in a corporate culture. And also the fact that working with a lot of really smart, intelligent people in that environment. And the thirdly is, of course, for branding, it was just really, really good. So I'm reaping the benefits of all that on and on. If I could go back and tell myself when I was younger, hey, you know what? Enjoy as much as you can these 10 years. It's the wrong job for you and maybe the wrong industry, but this is actually the platform and the foundation for what you really want to do for the rest of your life. So I'm very, very thankful and grateful. And sometimes, that's where when I coach people, I tell them as well, if you hate your job and you think it's terrible and you don't like the people around you, you have a choice. You stay or you leave, right? If you feel it's not the right time to leave or you don't want to leave, but you're miserable there, then find something about it that you can learn or make it useful for you, because you never know how it will pay off dividends in the end. Yeah, so that's how I would frame my Goldman experience. I know you asked for two things. I hope that's okay.
Well, that's okay. I mean, what I was trying to drive at is that we all have good and bad experiences. I mean, those days there were not too many entrepreneurs, like, fresh out of schools and jump into businesses. So most of us are like, I follow my mom's advice, go to a good school, get a good job, and the best is get into all those MNCs, right? The banks, and become a professional. And then like you said, I used to work for IBM and I didn't really like those corporate jobs, but I knew it was, at that time I didn't know it was, the branding was good. I realized it later. The platform is good because they teach you certain skill sets. They definitely taught me, discipline, because, deadlines. So I, looking back, those days I was complaining. I was like really stressed. But today, when you're more matured and you realize, hey, actually, those skills are really very good, very relevant. So now I'm trying to tell all these startups guys or people working in, or, starting their career in corporate, if your boss asks you to do extra things outside your 2 pages of job scope, take it as the boss is not stupid, because he would have given the job or the task to someone else. for the fact that he chose you, probably he sees something in you, because he's not so stupid to give the job to someone who cannot execute it, because it reflects on his KPI as well. So I think it's we could think as, wow, why my boss is so bad, always talk to you, it's like, why me, but instead perhaps it's an opportunity for me, so I think, to be able to see that in two, slice it and see it from two sides is a skill set, perhaps, you need someone to mentor you to be able to, elevate yourself to see it not just from, that 1D, you should be seeing it in 2D or 3D, a choice. So coming back to your transition, so you've been in bank, and what got you into consulting? What got you into what you're doing right now? Was it, something you've always wanted to do and you were planning for that moment? Or what is it, like apple drop on the head?
Well, first of all, I come from a family where my father's side, they were all entrepreneurs. My mother's side, they were also, in Chinese, we say, masi, so lawyers, doctors, that sort of thing. I always admired very much the entrepreneur side because they were so agile and flexible and they make things happen. But I never had the thought or wanted to, or thought I had the capability to become an entrepreneur myself. My passion ever since I was young is in learning what makes people tick. And so in any different way, shape or form, I would always be analyzing or learning about that part. Emotional intelligence is how I brand myself, but it's beyond that. That's more a marketing term. And when I got to Goldman, there was one opportunity for me to do way beyond what the scope of my job was. And I didn't do it because I was asked to. I actually did it because I thought, oh, wait a minute, there's an opportunity for me to give back to society here. And that was helping students in China jobs. So at that time, the market was still very young for investment bank in China. All the investment banks were trying to hire students as fresh grads into their firms, but they weren't able to make any hires. The students didn't know how to interview well. And one of the topics in learning how to make people tick was in interviewing. How do you understand the interviewer or the people reading your resume so that you can always get the interview or the job offer? And so I thought, oh, wait a minute, these people need help. I can help them. I've been studying this topic since I was 12. And then the market was not good. So usually when you have events on school campus, you have a bunch of people going with you because they cut all the budget. I thought, oh, so I can go myself. I can say anything I want and no one will ever know. And so I literally piggybacked off the company brand. I told them that I was going to help them do branding exercise, which was the side benefit actually. But what my real goal was to help these kids. And so because of these kids, they gave me a big gift. Because I wanted to help them, I overcame my huge stage fright. And from then onwards, I realized that, oh, I'm really good at this. And I would stand on stage and they would ask me questions and the answers would just come. And I would think, where did that answer come from? I sound so wise. Oh, this must be universal truth. And then from there on, I remember after a year of doing this, there was one session where I stood on stage and I thought, wow, if I could do this for a living and not physically kill myself doing it, because this was way out of my job spec. And it basically doubled my workload. And my original workload was already huge. And I was already feeling the effects of, the toll it was taking on my health. And there's just a lot going on. And also because the company was so happy with what I was doing and the results of what I was doing, but not giving more resources, and they wanted more. So I couldn't give any more. So it was so frustrating. I thought, wow, if only I could do this all the time, but in a way that also respects my own needs and health, but also helping others, that life would be wonderful. And I never considered doing this full time because I didn't think you could make a living from it. And then finally, the next year, I actually had my daughter. And I remember what happened was I had a very emotional moment. She was about a month old and I was holding her in my arms. And I thought, you know what? I don't want I was talking to her, I don't want you to grow up and feel that you have to do an iBank job or you have to do whatever job. Right. So if she loves iBanking or she loves finance, that's great. I have colleagues who love it. They're born to do this. Right. But if she wasn't born to do that and she was forcing herself because of society's expectations, I really hope that wouldn't happen to her. So I told her, you know what, if that's what I wish for you, then mommy needs to step out and be a role model for you. So I need to be courageous enough to step out and follow my heart and do it. And with that, I quit my job, took the plunge. I actually did 2 businesses at the same time. I had a skincare business, plus I had this training business. And the thing is, as an introvert, I don't like to cold call. And I didn't like to network. I'm fine with networking now, and I teach how to network, which is, people love it because it's great. It's coming from a point of someone who doesn't like networking. How do you not hate it? How do you accept it, and how do you do well in it? But at that time, I wasn't, this is like many years ago, so I wasn't at that stage yet. And so I spoke to, I spoke to the universe, and I said, God or whoever you are, I feel that this is the step you want me to do. And, to read earlier question, is there something that most people don't know? Most people don't know this part. And so I feel that there's a step you want to take. This step makes no sense whatsoever because I have a good career, I'm making good income, and I'm respected, doing well in my career, and I'm going to drop all to go speak to people. And I have no clients, no connections, no credibility for this. It's just a feeling and an inspiration and a gut feeling, knowing that this is what I'm supposed to do. So I said, if I'm going to step out of this, then the deal is you're going to bring me clients. I'm not going to call anyone, right? You bring me the clients and I'll do this. And God kept up his end of the bargain. I've not had to call for clients. People have come to look for me, ask me. I get a lot of referrals. Of course, I get referrals because I really put my heart into every job that I do. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I still get to enjoy what I'm doing so many years later. People say follow your passion, but you can be a really good cook, but you may not enjoy running a restaurant, right? And that's sort of what my skincare experience was. I really enjoyed learning about skincare. I was able to formulate my own products, but running a skincare company was a different story. With training, I've worked really hard to keep it very pure so that for the most part, I'm focused on the part that I love so that I can continue doing this.
Well, it's interesting because like you said, you're not sort of like, it wasn't something that you planned. It was something that you realized in the course of, doing something that you feel could actually give back, especially the children. I always believe that, sometimes God, whichever God or the universe you believe in, they perhaps already have a script just waiting for us to act it out, waiting for us to receive it with open arms when you're ready. So it's been an interesting thing, but I think, your daughter is definitely an inspiration for you. Many parents that I know, they took a bold step because they now realize that they have a bigger calling, is to set an example for their kids, so that you empower them, because previously maybe our parents were not in their thinking is not that open. They thought, being a lawyer, must see whatever it is the way to go, right? But I think now modern parents, we sort of realize that the most important thing is that the person is happy, enjoys, going to work. Like you said, some people are just born, for the job, it's so stressed, but people like in banking for 30 years, people are doing the same job, even as a clerk, doing the same thing for 30 years. They just enjoy it. And there's nothing wrong or right about it, right? So tell me a little bit more about the consulting firm that you're running right now. Do you have like a segment of clienteles that you focus on? Are they like usually individuals, or are they like corporate CEOs that perhaps come to you for coaching? And what area of, let's say, when you teach, right, like you said, emotional intelligence, which specific area that you enjoy teaching the most? Maybe that would be the question.
Okay. That's actually a good question, because as a business and marketing wise, it's always recommended to focus on a niche. Unfortunately for me, when your passion is in learning what makes people tick, and I'm also a very practical person, so I specialize in practical applications, it's humanity. So
Okay.
a niche. And so in the past, I struggled with how to market that. So I teach anywhere from job seekers, both from, I have clients who are C-levels all the way to, obviously, the year before, I also had people ask me to coach on interviews for primary and high school students too. So when it's humanity, then the range is human beings. You have a large range that way, which is not good for marketing, but in terms of client satisfaction, that has never been a problem. In terms of topics, I like to create new things, and I like to target needs. It's not about me saying or proving that I'm good at or I know certain things. It's about how can we make a difference to help someone the way they want to be helped and improved. So clients often come with specific problems that they want to have resolved. Maybe I already have it that I've done it before. Maybe we need to create it new. So the range of topics is also very wide. However, it's anywhere from, it's all about how to relate with other people and also understanding yourself. So as I said, from the more let me put it this way. I always tell people it's the whole range of your career. So anywhere from I need to find a job, to I've found a job, I need to do well, I need to make a good impression, to going as far as I do a lot of senior leadership coaching on office politics. Or I get hired by these huge multinationals. Sometimes they say, you know, they have senior professionals who need to be promoted more to a next step, and they need to work on their EQ because their EQ is really low. A lot of times it's maybe they don't even get along with their boss, and they need me to coach them to get along with their boss. I get a lot of those requests as well. I get people who are being groomed for a promotion, and they need to have the whole gamut. So meaning they need to look the part, they need to speak the part, they need help with their confidence, as well as the people skills part. So I also teach people how to really look deep inside themselves and build the confidence from that level, and learning about emotions and how to do that. I've gone around the world giving seminars on topics such as change management, helping leaders to figure out how to lead their staff through a lot of the changes that are going on today, and even their employees on how to handle themselves emotionally through change. So whenever it's things like anything to do with how we think and how we feel, that's where I would come in. I wouldn't come in and do, oh, let me design how you should change up your entire company. But as you have rolled out or will be rolling out something, how do we minimize the negative emotional impact of this on your staff? How can you uplift and inspire your staff? How can you have a more harmonious environment? Now, I'm talking a lot about corporate because I've spent a lot of the time focusing on corporate. Now, our thoughts and beliefs drive what we do. So all along, I've believed that I need to focus on corporate because that's where, as a business, and for many years I was a single mother too, that's business and financially, that's what I need to do. My dessert was actually helping universities because that's where I started. So I always felt like, oh, this is one day I want to do more with universities, but right now I have to focus on corporate. So you know, going forward for 2021, I'll still be doing corporate, and I still am, and welcome anyone who wants help that way. But I've now opened up my schedule more to work even more with universities, and it's really nice that as soon as I had this thought and belief and opened up, the universe responded. I've had a lot more universities than even before. I think they're doing the referral thing where one university refers to another. I've always worked with Peking University, Tsinghua University, and HKUST for many, many years, since about 2006-07. But now I'm expanding to do more. And so now I get to eat more dessert, which makes me really happy.
Yeah, I think, you know, that working with corporate, of course, it pays the bill. It has got more challenges, but I guess as a human being in every stage of our life, we were faced with, it started with different needs, different wants, right? And then because of these needs and wants, you are sort of like being thrown different challenges. But I like the fact that you are also focusing on university students, because the sooner they realized and the sooner they build that core inside them, I think it will be easier when they actually go out to face the world with lots of politics and uncertainty. And they don't have to look back, when they are 30 or 40 and say, you know what? I didn't really chose the path that I like or enjoy. So I didn't really enjoy the last 10 years, although money was good, but I sort of didn't really maybe found my real potential. So it's good that we actually, as people with more experience going to universities and sort of enlighten these university students, they could actually, they have a choice to actually choose the career path. I mean, giving options is one, a very good way, letting them see what things they could potentially do besides getting a good job. They could be the one creating job as in, entrepreneurship as a career, which I think now there's so many startups doing that. But in your engagement with corporate, let's say C-levels, is really good money, being able to do programs with the C-levels. But do you also feel that it's kind of stressful because the C-levels, some of them are really very, very sort of like, well, I didn't get to a C-level because I don't have an EQ and IQ. So you're a coach, but I don't really need a coach. Do you have, I mean, if you face a client like this, although the company say, yeah, you're very good at delivering numbers, but your people skills sucks. And then you're being asked to say, hey, can you fix this guy? Because, he's not really creating a, harmonious environment. People do their job because of fear, not because they buy into their ideas, to that story, right? So how do you actually handle such individual?
In terms of C-level clients, I mean, I also do a third segment, which is obviously individual clients, which I'll be doing more this year. That is the whole range of from C-level to not C-level, of course. And also, as you were saying, corporates also hire me to do C-level coaching or at least very senior leadership coaching. Yes. Whoever comes, whatever their ranking or their age or whatever, the most important thing is, do they want it? Are they hungry for it? Do they want to improve? When it's an individual client, regardless of their level, at least they've taken that courageous step to find a coach because something they want to change about themselves or their life. If it's a company asking me to do it, I've had these cases before where there was one very, very senior C-level person. They didn't cross their arms talking to me, but it was a psychological crossing their arms, not because they were against me, but because they were being forced to have the coaching. On a logical level, they knew that they needed to comply, but psychologically, they didn't think that it was something they want to invest their time in. And so as a professional coach and someone claiming to have spent a lifetime learning what makes people tick, then the magic happens when you're able to show them it's in their best interest, outside of what the company wants. So in those cases, thankfully, so far, I've been able to do it. And if I come across someone where I don't find the leverage to show them that this is actually in their favor, then I would not take on the job because it's a waste of time for both of us. But there's one case in particular where the person was extremely successful in everything she did, right? And she was a career C-level person. And just at this one position, she was deemed that her EQ skills were a bit lacking, and it was holding back her give to the company, as well as getting along with other people on her team and so forth. So in going in, I didn't say that, oh, this is wrong and you should learn this, but her logic for why she didn't need to change, what she cared about was efficiency and efficacy. And so I was able to explain to her and share with her how not handling the people part well actually made things inefficient, which is true. No project can be handled without people. And if you don't bring the people on board, yes, you need to invest a bit more time hand-holding people or massaging people or understanding where they're coming from. And someone who's very process-focused or efficiency-focused often thinks that's a waste of time. And then when people then obstruct their progress, then they get really frustrated and they start blaming those people. And I totally get it. But where I'm coming from is, hey, if you from the beginning know how to handle these people in the first place, maybe it's a 10% investment of your time, 5%. But then overall, for the entire project, you reap huge benefits and it's efficient overall. And so once they can see this, like, oh yeah, it's actually to my benefit. And the other thing is you can't isolate work from home. If you're like this at work, you're like this at home. If something about you is creating issues at work, then it's creating issues at home. And once people can see the pain point, that's where they're on board. Right? So of course, it's easier if people just want something and they come to me and I can give it to them. But if not, then it's also useful to show them, hey, you know what? Oh, I always believed, it's the same thing where I always believed that I needed to do only corporate work and I only allowed myself to have some dessert sometimes, when actually, no, that's not the case. And so it's really having them realize, oh, what you believed all along is not the case. And if you can resolve this or get over it, life will be even that much easier and more efficient. That's how I've done it in the past.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think the icebreaker and like what you said, you put it so beautifully sweet. It's like what makes people think, because we are all individual. None of us even like twins. They're, you know, they look similar and all this, but inside there are different things, right? And I think you know, it is what makes people think is so important, because a communication is two ways. It's always two ways. You know, your boss needs to find out what makes the staff, the employee thinks, and you as the staff also needs to work around the style of your boss, right? You know, how is his character and all this. Now, you know, thank you so much, Natalie, for your time. I wish we have more time to chat over this, because it's such a huge subject, and it really covers a lot of things. It's like you said, you know, from students to all the way to, you know, even just before retiring. I mean, you know, after working for 50 years or 40 years, actually stepping down and letting go is also one of the difficult things, you know, we have to deal with. I think some of my friends are retiring and they are actually so stressed about being, you know, getting retirement. Yeah. So, you know, in the interest of time, if you were to give tips or share with someone, let's say a new person, a person that's being promoted to a senior position, like a CEO of a company, right? What are the one or two things that you think this new CEO should do the first day he's in office?
The first day they're in office. I would recommend that they get a really good handle on layout of the people involved. Stakeholders, employees, really set the stage so they know who they're working with, what their motivations are, and who their core team would be, right? Who they can rely on. That's number one, right? If I were to say one more thing, is because I deal with a lot of people who, if it's someone who's a career CEO, then they would know this already. Someone stepping into that for the first time, a lot of times what I see is confidence issues. So knowing that you're promoted to that spot, then from day one, you already are CEO. You're not trying to be CEO. You're not afraid that people are going to find out you're not good enough to be the CEO. You already are. And working from the point of being, as a trying to prove, that handles a lot of the stress involved. And as a CEO or any new role that we're taking on, there's always a range of skill level. So yes, you are the CEO and you're just beginning. And as you go along, 1 year later, you'll be a better CEO. 10 years later, you'll be an even better CEO, hopefully, of course.
Yes.
One improves over time.
Yes.
And, that would be the two things that I would say. Thank you so much for your time as well, Rina.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Wishing you all the best into your, I think, you know, you're still very young, so a lot more journey, and is something really good because you are impacting life, whether they are students or they are, you know, career C-suite level. I think everybody needs someone that they can open up to, you know, and being listened to. I think that if you can build that connection, I think is really very interesting. Not many people can build the trust. I think for it to work, you must definitely have some skill sets, you know. But I think genuinely wanting to help someone is the most important thing in a business like yours, right? So, I really look forward to meeting you in Hong Kong. So I don't know when the border is going to open, but hopefully soon. So stay safe and, keep up the good work. Yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you,
today.
Natalie.
Right.